This is Mobile Agent TV, helping agents stay on the cutting edge from coast to coast.
Welcome to Mobile Agent TV. I am Michael Thorne of Remax Little Oak Realty in Langley, BC, and my co-host, as always, is Dave Falkware of Bridgewater, New Jersey's Remax Preferred Professionals in the Viral Realty team. Dave, how long until pitchers and catchers report to camp?
They already reported, my friend.
Oh my goodness gracious! It's already on.
That was yesterday.
They're already there.
They're already there. I've analyzed everything, and I have my predictions if you want them.
Okay, well, I mean, you guys got a bunch of young hurlers there on the Mets, so I mean, they only have a bright future. So, so where are you for your Mets this year?
Well, I'm gonna predict that the Mets are going back to the World Series, and partly because I'm a Met fan, but I truly believe that. And I think in the American League, the Red Sox are going to be the American League winner. With, believe it or not, the Toronto Blue Jays is a dark horse. They could come. They just could come out of the.
Yeah, they're keeping things together. Well, Mets are up now. You're back to being a season ticket holder, right? They won you over. Is that right?
Not yet, no.
Not yet. Okay.
Guy called me this morning, as a matter of fact.
Awesome. Before we get into today's show, just want to let you know that you can interact with us on Twitter using the hashtag MATV as well as if you're logged on to Google, you can jump right in. We got the Q&A feature up. You can ask questions of today's guest. We're going to get deep into building a business, converting leads, driving more sales. I want to send a really special thank out to all of our 10 guests. Last episode was episode 100 of Mobile Agent TV. We had 10 amazing guests on it. It was a fantastic episode. Thank you guys all for doing that. Now, want to announce our live show from Remax R4 that's going to happen on Tuesday, March 1st. I believe it's going to be right around 12:30. We're still waiting for the exact time, but it's going to be at lunchtime in the marketplace. So we have one, possibly two major guest announcements that are still in the process of being confirmed, but they're going to be amazing guests at R4. And then after we do those two interviews, we're going to sit down and do a bit of a roundtable panel discussion with Roz Waters from Australia, Daniel Bergelson, and Nathan Dart, and we're going to just tackle the topics that agents are talking about, brand, marketing, leads, buyer and seller experience, and then we're going to open questions up a little bit different to the audience this year, and we're just going to chat about where the industry is. So if you're at R4, come down on March 1st, join us, and if you are not coming down, we get to bring a little bit of R4 to you, and tune into mobileagenttv.com, and you'll get to see that episode, as well as Valerie Garcia. Dave will be sitting in your spot as you're crushing it there in New Jersey and are too busy to come and hang out for a little bit. So that's good. She's got your stamp of approval, right, Dave, to sit in your chair?
Actually, she just passed. I just got it in the mail today. She passed the vetting process. I got it all checked out, and she is so far, and probably ever, only will be the only one that's been authorized with my stamp of approval to sit in my seat. So we'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Without further ado, let's dive into today's show with today's guest, Chris Smith. As always, we read out our guest's 160 Twitter bio. You can get Chris on Twitter at Chris Smith, Chris_Smith with no I. I guess when you have a super common name like Chris Smith and not like Dave Falkware, someone already has your Twitter handle. So there you go. His 160 Twitter bio reads co-founder at Curator.com, author of The Conversion Code, co-author of Peoplework, co-host of The Water Cooler, keynote speaker, Great Dane owner. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Congrats on your milestone of 100 shows. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons people win is effort over time. A lot of people think that either time has to pass or effort has to happen. So props to you guys, Michael. It's a great show. People that have never watched, people that maybe came in through my email list, go into the archives, tons of takeaways. You guys keep it moving. So props to you guys. I like 101. I don't mind being episode 101.
No, you're the start of the next chapter. I mean,
exactly.
like you said, Chris, we started this. We thought we'd do 5 or 6 shows, and then we started getting just a little bit of feedback, and then it keeps you driving, and so it's been a great adventure. You're right, and it just gets better and better over time and effort. So I appreciate that. Now, I want to read out something my co-host posted on Facebook 2 days ago about today's guest and the book, The Conversion Code. I have, in full disclosure, have not received a copy yet. Dave has. So when we ask questions, full disclosure, this is what my co-host wrote on Facebook the other day. I don't usually endorse things, especially books. I got a copy of Christmas' new book, The Conversion Code, in preparation for this Friday's Mobile Agent TV. I am deep into this book. I posted here because there are more gems in this book than anything I have ever read. Some real money makers. 3 exclamation marks. So there you go.
Cool. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for posting that. And man, I'm excited to share what's in the book that made Dave react that way. But I do think that at its core, there is a ton of actionable advice that you can execute. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for sharing it. And now we're going to get to share it with everybody. Sorry about it not getting you a copy. There's literally, these are called galley copies. And this is actually something your publisher sends out. Hopefully they gave you a little handwritten note, Dave, when they sent it. But
they did.
Yeah, there's only like 8 copies in the world, and Dave has one. So that's pretty cool.
So there you go, Dave, just quickly give us a quick synopsis maybe about what makes you write that, because 100 episodes of this show, we've had Jade Barrow on the show, we've had Scott Stratton, we've had a lot of people in different mediums, Bomb, you aren't that apt to just, I've never seen you write something like that before. What was it about this particular book that you're already into that makes you post something like that?
Well, as I've said on the show a lot of times, I mean, the change in technology and how we do our business and paperless and the way our whole business in the world is going has been kind of fascinating to me. And lead conversion and leads, it's kind of been a challenge. There's a lot of people out there talking about a lot of things about, especially the portals. I mean, it's in menus, all of this. It's just everything's moving at the speed of light. So, and I'm into, updating my websites and doing SEO and Facebook ads and Facebook and social media, and then I've been public about how I feel about social media. But when I open up this book, it's like a step-by-step, almost, it's a little deep. I'll tell everybody, it's a little deep. It was deep for me. In other words, very detailed, very technical, but it tells you step-by-step how to do the whole lead generation and lead conversion in the world we're in today. And that's the part that was fascinating to me. I mean, because I know a little bit about Facebook ads. I know a little bit about all these things, but this, and the other really good part about it is that, as we all know, there's a lot of people with a lot of books. Chris has got trust and like from me. He's been around a long time, and I trust what he says in this book. I've read other little books or little things or gone to little webinars, and I come away, well, I don't know who the hell this guy is. Can I trust that? Am I going to go down that road and do all of this work? I trust what he put in this book, and as you can see, I got notes, I got highlights. I don't have any books in my house that have highlights in them other than this thing. This thing is like got me. I had to back up and reread it because I had to go back up and go like, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
that feels great. That right? It resonated with you. I was actually looking at your Facebook right now, and I love that you actually executed the how many states have you lived in? That was actually a nugget from the book, Michael, that people can do while they're watching. There's something I'm obsessed with in marketing and sales called magic moments, which is how can you get a piece of advice, do the piece of advice, and then instantly go, holy shit. And that's what I tried to insert throughout the book. So one example that Dave did, I saw on his Facebook, is there's a part of the book I call BFS, Built for Social. The way that you ask a question on Facebook, the way that you compose a status update, there is a formula for that. And so if you ask on Facebook right now, anybody listening could do this, how many states have you lived in? If you were to ask that on your Facebook profile right now at 1:10 on Friday, by 1:30, 1:40, you will have more comments than anything you've posted the whole time you've been on Facebook. And it isn't that it's anything revolutionary. It's just built for social. So there's email templates, Facebook ad templates, Facebook status update templates, Facebook private message templates. Like, there's just a lot of kind of copy, paste, try. And it's the best of, Michael. How many things in the last 5-6 years would you not recommend in a book? I probably could have written 3x a book of shit that you should never do. This was really meant to be the stuff that really works. So thank you, Dave. I love the feedback.
Oh, and I'm into all of the things you just mentioned, Facebook. I've always done some Facebook, but I just throw it out there. I post a post. I spend $20. I get a little results, but I'm doing this step by step, and I'm really pretty confident that it's going to change a lot of things for us.
Cool. Awesome.
So Chris, in writing the book, calling it the conversion code. So we chatted. The first 1/3 of the book is how to generate the leads or ways to generate the lead, and then the most important part in our industry, because I think the first thing happens, maybe not in the same quality, but the first thing happens by a lot of the activities we do. The issue is I think as agents we like shiny new leads, and we're not willing to get through and do the effort and time to convert those leads. So what is the major struggle that you see that are agents that are facing that you think the conversion code addresses for agents?
Sure. There's a couple of things that are challenging, and it's not just agents, most industries, but in real estate right now, there's like almost 50 million leads a year that are being generated, and there's about 5 million homes a year that are sold. So that becomes a needle in the haystack problem. Think about the car industry, Michael. How many car leads are there? How many cars are sold? Like every industry has this sort of huge insurge of leads, but the number of items that industry sells each year sort of stays stagnant or grows a little bit like it should. And so what I've described in the book is that the fortune is in the follow-up, because almost every real estate agent on this call right now is getting leads. They're getting them from Zillow, Trulia, or Realtor.com. They're getting them from Facebook and people sending them messages. They're getting them through email, referrals, friends of friends. So everybody is getting leads. The question becomes, what do you do from the time you get the lead until the time that you want to be at the appointment or make the money? So a couple of things that were huge ahas in the data that I researched. One, speed kills. And what a lot of CRMs do is you get a lead, Michael, and it says, hey, you got a lead, call this guy. Like you said, you like the new shiny lead. It's not that hard to get realtors to jump at a lead alert for a new lead. What's hard is to get them excited about an old lead or a past lead. So when you get a new lead, you have to contact them within the first 5 minutes. If you don't, it isn't that you can't call them later or call them an hour later, but the impact of the ability to convert a lead between minute 5 and minute 30 is 100x.
Chris, there's an amazing graph out there that I use in the keynote that I'm talking on right now that shows that over time, we're talking about my keynote's talking about this world that we're living in is different. That over time you have much diminishing returns on converting a lead into actual business, which we all know. I mean, that's common knowledge. What is shocking is that on that graph, column number 1 is minute number 1, column number 2 is minute number 2, column number 3 is minute number 3. We're not talking first hour, second hour, third hour, first day, second day, third day. We're talking about minutes, and I think if there is a change, it's not the decay in the quality of the lead over time, it's how fast that lead can decay. And I don't know if the average agent is equipped or prepared to capitalize on what other agents won't capitalize. I think that's the real win. If we all responded in 3 minutes, Chris, then you'd have 5 million leads. I think the reality is you have to embrace the fact that your competition in your neighborhood aren't going to convert those leads in the first place.
Here's the best part of it. 47% of companies never respond to leads at all, and the average response time is over 3.5 hours. So even when you decide to respond, it's not in that window where the conversion rate's at the highest. So, but here's the other thing, to your point of, yes, you call quick, but you call often. That's what I call in the book tenacity. It's the key to selling to internet leads is what I call STS, speed, tenacity, script. And that leads to what I call the highest conversion rate possible. So yes, you call quickly, but here's a crazy stat. Even when you call quickly, you only end up reaching about 48% of leads. But if you will actually call 6 times, you will contact 93% of your leads. And so when we hear this idea that people are having trouble converting, most of it is around speed and tenacity. And the bottom line is that people hear that, Michael, but they don't do it. So if I have a CRM, to your point, I want to make a call on minute 1, minute 10, hour 1, hour 4, and then I'm going to make another 2 calls the next day. And then maybe there's like a call 7 days, 30 days later. But so it's not even just about like, I know a lot of the action plans that come in these systems will tell you to call them today, call them in 3 days, call them in a week, and then call them in a month. That would be the 4 calls. So I think there's a specific action item in 6 calls in the first 3 days, 5 of those calls in the first 2 days, and that will at least get you connected to more leads, because it is very frustrating if you're just only making that first call, half the people you never reach. You can double your lead conversion by just dialing more and making more opportunities for yourself. It's not always about the quality of the lead.
But you know, time is precious, not only for us but our consumer too as well. And I think the type of lead definitely has changed. I think we are, as a society, at this instant reward thing. So that if I reach out and inquire about your listing, I kind of think that, hey, I want my answer now. If not, I'm going to find somewhere else to get my answer. I think not only, I think the consumer's expectation of response has changed.
This is why the true solo agent is at risk. This is why the part-time agent is at risk. This is like, if you think about in the software world, Mark Andreessen says that software is eating the world. Well, in real estate, teams are eating the industry. And if people want to have another call about that and a different topic, we could. But there's the number one reason why is, A, there's a lot of real value in having 8 or 10 people working on your behalf over one. And B, when you have multiple people on your team, you can then dedicate one of them to contacting every lead quickly, which, by the way, doesn't just benefit you. It benefits your sellers. It benefits your business. It benefits your customer service experience. So I would not argue that if you're a solo agent that's at a listing appointment that just started, I will not argue that it's impossible to get back to that lead. But here's the other thing, Michael. What about SMS that's automated? That can extend your chance. What about emails that are well written, that are personalized, that are human, that get a good response rate? So in the book, I call it bursting. You can't look at the phone as even your only option. You have to go phone, phone, email, text. You've got to go with missile, air, and land, right? Land, sea, and air. When you go after these leads, that's a technique called bursting. And the way I do it is the lead comes in, we call. Right? We miss the call, we text. If we miss the call, hey, I called you because you asked to be called. Can you talk? So call, miss the call, fuck voicemail. Sorry, I know you guys don't curse as much as we do. I don't even have time to leave the voicemail. I call, they miss it, I text them. Now the reality is that a good CRM will auto text them. So then I just have to call, because the text will go and the email will go. Michael, put yourself in a position of a consumer. You're on Zillow. You fill out a form, and the person doesn't call you right away, but you get a text right away that says, hey, Michael, I got your information from Zillow. Can I call you back shortly? What would you do if you got that text?
See, I was absolutely. See, and this is, Chris, this is, and to hopefully to your point, I think there's a lot of agents. The average age of this agent is, or in this industry, is 57. I think the excuse is, well, isn't that creepy that you responded in 1 minute? Isn't that weird that you were watching? And you know what? I think we, as a society, are over that. Like, to me, that's not creepy anymore. That when I go on to look at some new camera gear, that ad follows me around the internet. Gone are the days that I think that's unusual. It's almost an expectation now, Chris. And so the response is, yes, I was looking for this. You're going to provide it for me. Awesome. That's why Uber wins. That's why all these companies are winning.
And here's the beauty is when you throw those hooks out there to the leads, the auto SMS, the auto email that's well written, you actually don't even know when those go. You just know when they get replied to, which is the only time you really want to take it seriously. I look at it this way. If it is a lead that is serious and they fill out a form and I send them a well-written response by email and text immediately and they do not reply, how serious were they? Right? So it's also a filtering process. Now, I don't want them in my database. I want them in my database even if they don't reply, because I'll give myself a million more at bats through email marketing. But the reality is you cannot judge the ability to convert internet leads until you've got the systems in place that help you.
Yeah. And Dave, to Chris's point, something we've talked about all the time, I just think we're just at the starting point of it. And when I first got in this industry in the early 90s, I was on a team. The teams were usually husband and wives. Like, that's just where we are. Dave, look at you and the service you're able to provide. Could a solo just Dave Falkware compete equal to a team or even near a team in today's quick response funnels coming from everywhere world? It's just a different beast now.
Absolutely, and no, and just to Chris's point, they can't compete. I mean, we're actually having conversations about hiring someone to be an inside salesperson, a buyer agent who would specialize in talking to people on the phone and curating these leads, because they do have to be answered quickly. We have systems already in place, bomb drip emails. I don't know, Reliance is about to set up a API code so we can have a drip video email go out immediately with leads. It's already done in Zillow. It's done in a lot of things. So that's the way we've got it set up. But Chris could answer this. I would imagine that the consumer would prefer to have a person call them in the first minute versus to getting an email or a video.
Yeah, I would say the person wanting your call depends on your funnel, right? So if I go to HubSpot and they say, hey, download this great report about SEO, and I download it and my phone rings, they can still close me. But I wasn't expecting it, so it's a little bit of a tougher call. The people that are saying contact me, especially those little boxes on the listing details pages, if you don't think those are good leads, you're out of your mind. Now, I'm not saying they all qualify, Mike, right? But what I'm saying is that people, at the point that somebody's filling that little widget out to request details about a property, they're a damn serious lead, because there's not a person in this country or Canada that actually wants to have a realtor call them. And so when they do, that's why all these bells and alarms and everything have to go off. It's like, holy shit, somebody still needs us. Pounce, you got to have that mentality for sure. But then it's just about when you set up the automation, using a very human approach to your copywriting. Whereas there's been lead responders for a year that say, thank you for your information, somebody will get back with you. But that just doesn't feel like a text, right? So you're just kind of applying that logic to SMS, which absolutely crushes it.
Okay, and a couple things about that. Let's go there, because I truly believe, I send a lot of our lead autoresponders, if I can, personal bomb, 45 seconds it goes out, because it's just a differentiating factor. How come we talk to our friends one way on text message, phone call, and then we think we have to be this over-polished, copywritten, stale, hospital clean? What if we just relax a little bit? I think in the way that we communicate with a consumer, they're more apt to think it's real. I had this conversation with Chris Spiker, who won't automate anything that's 3 paragraphs long, indented, and all that sort of stuff. He just says, was thinking about you guys catching. Yeah. Should we talk to our consumers like they're our friends versus this overly polished, stale way of communicating? I think
there's a middle. I don't know that it's like your friends, like, what's up, man, how's it going? But I think that if somebody, if your sister emailed you and said, hey, I want to go look at a house, you would say, awesome, what time did you want to go?
Yeah.
And so I would do that if it was my sister or not. So yes, you're right. Now, I don't know that you want your first response to have a freaking emoji in it.
No, but I think, Chris, if you were
to build towards that, after a couple texts, we might do a thumbs up to let, right? Yeah. True story. So I think that tone, which is a big part of the book, one of the things that I thought was fascinating in the research is how humans actually communicate, which is to your point exactly here. And what they found is that about 55% of communication is physiology. It's seeing your hair, seeing where you're looking, smelling, looking, feeling, touching. Physiology is more the way humans communicate more than anything else. The next thing is tone. The tone they use as they communicate, and only 7% of how humans communicate are the words they say. So I think that when you apply the logic of how humans communicate like this, tone is more important than words. And physiology is the most important. Well, when you strip away physiology, because email, now that's why you love video and we love video, because you're bringing physiology back. I talk about this in the book. It's why I'm so bullish on video, because you bring all of the senses into the equation. But if you're not going to do video, which a lot of people will never do, think about the tone of your messages as much as the words. And I don't think a lot of people do that. Exclamation points matter. The jovialness, I think, is what you're going for. Helpful, friendly, yet professional. Not professional, oh God, should I be regular?
Yeah. So okay, let's talk first about leads, and let's dive a little bit more into converting them. Mm-hmm. Are all leads created equal? Is there a place where you, through your research, says it's better to generate the lead in this manner, in this location in 2016, versus generating this lead in this manner in 2016?
Sure. I think it's not necessarily about the acquisition channel necessarily. I do talk a lot in the book about the benefits of doing demand generation versus demand fulfillment. I think that's been a big secret sauce for us and for our clients. So as an example, if somebody's already on Zillow, if somebody goes to Google and does a search, if somebody goes to Kijiji or Craigslist, right, they have already shown intent. That is, no matter what you call it, even if you're doing pay-per-click through Google, even if you're a Zillow Premier agent, you are really doing demand fulfillment. And so what we argue is that in a world where somebody that's already on those portals and in that ecosystem is probably getting hounded like Lending Tree style, by 5 or 6 different companies vying for their business by that point, Facebook advertising creates the ability to generate the demand in the first place. So a very specific example is that 0 people woke up today and thought about going to Facebook to register to look at a listing. But we'll have 10, 15,000 leads come in this week of people that do just that. And so because you're sort of that only source of lead gen versus like all the other sharks, sometimes it's easier to convert. Sometimes they're more prone to answer. They haven't already been hounded and annoyed by other salespeople. I think there's a big advantage to starting to understand how to generate demand for what you do versus simply fulfilling the demand for what you do.
I couldn't agree with you more, Chris. Like, if you're able to generate the lead around a value proposition that no one else can duplicate, especially in the marketplace that we're in right now, in the 23 years I've been selling real estate, we've never had more demand for listings. The inventory is super low. Mm-hmm. And so going there and doing a dark post campaign for a coming soon, you're right. The only person that has the ability to generate that lead is me. And so I'm not competing against 5 or 6 other agents for that same person. I have a value proposition that no one else can compete with.
But
go ahead.
No, I was just going to explain it one other way because that's dead on. But another way to think of it is this: there are going to be thousands and thousands of people next week that go on Zillow and get his estimate, or that go to Google and type in how much is my home worth in Canada right now, right? So we know that each and every week there's going to be a plethora of people that are looking for that info. By being in the news feed on Facebook before they have that thought, they may never have that thought. So if we had a crystal ball and we knew that like 3 months from today I was going to go to Zillow to get his estimate, but if there were an ad in the feed leading up to that day that said, if you've been using Zillow to get your home's value, it's not exactly right, ha ha ha, like something like that, go to our accurate version, which we'll put together for you within 24 hours or whatever your ad is, right? The idea is that you're absolutely right. You're basically cutting off intent. Another good example is holidays. I know you do a lot of holiday stuff with your page. Yep. So you can go right now to google.com/trends and you can type in something like 4th of July fireworks. Okay, and what Google will show you, this is going to be the nail in their coffin, by the way, eventually, is they'll show you that in the United States, July 1st, that is the most searched for that, or the 2nd or the 3rd. So when I think of looking at search trends and knowing that they happen on, call it July 1st, then I could actually run my ad on Facebook on June 29th and 30th about where to watch the fireworks next week.
So they never have that need to go to Google.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? You know the thing is, our Facebook dark posting for our coming soon campaigns are converting a lead, and when I say a qualified lead, I'm first name, last name, email address, phone number, which is great at 94 cents Canadian, which is like 12 cents American, 94 cents Canadian. But no one else can compete for that lead. I have that, as well as, to your point, I think if you're able to say and especially through Facebook dark posting, you could post get your value in all the little tiny nooks and crannies in your community and label it that way and have the graphic about that community. Zillow can never create the hyper-local connection to the lead, and so if I think that I'm actually getting the value of my home from someone who knows my specific neighborhood, the value, my perception of the value of the information returned is so much greater than this Wall Street image of this non-person. I think there's no connection. There's no intimacy about the value that I'm getting in return. I think that's a big game changer that we have to be aware of.
Yeah, they're not going to go as hyper-local as you for sure, but the other thing, you asked the question, are all leads created equally? And I want to give a really specific tip on how to warm up your leads through Facebook ads before you ever get them. Because you asked if all leads are created equally. The answer is no. If you run an ad on Facebook that says, want to know how much your home is worth in 90210, click here and we'll do this. That will get you more leads than an ad that said, are you planning to sell your home this year? If so, go here and get a value now that's accurate, blah, blah, blah. Copywriting, my friend, is a secret sauce to filtering and qualifying leads. And that's where a lot of people miss it. Like Dave said earlier, I just kind of put stuff up and boost it and just see how it does. And that was something that we found. We run campaigns for top producers. Curator manages ads, run ads, looks at the ad performance. And we found that those little changes to the copywriting, where instead of saying new listing, you would say not on Zillow, like not in the MLS. So the other thing you could do in your ads would be, if you're buying a home in the next 60 days, you're not going to want to miss this one. So think of that as like a way to get better buyer leads versus 12-month. So just want to throw that out there, that through your emails, through your Facebook ads, copywriting can be king when it comes to lead quality and readiness to convert. That was a big takeaway for me.
And is there a lot of that content and takeaways in the book, Chris? Like I said, I haven't read. Like I want people to. It's in the book, guys. Go. You should be all going. Not now, which is the end of the show.
Well, we can. It's on Amazon. We can talk about how people could buy it, but I would say that the specificity of this conversation is exactly what people will find in the book. I also teach people not only how to run a perfect Facebook ad, I teach them the best 4 Facebook ads to use, and then I also teach them the 3 audiences that they need to create so that those ads do the best. You want to think of it as awareness ads that lead to opportunity to capture ads that lead to opportunity to close ads, is kind of how I position it. I call it the magic million, which is anybody that might buy from you or refer to you, the chunky middle, which are the people that have already clicked in the magic million, and then the sweet spot, which are the people that have registered, that are in your database. So that's another big pro tip on lead conversion.
You know the thing that was really cool for me about when I read the book was these things we just talked about, the fireworks ad you talked about, and Zillow for an inaccurate estimate, you want an accurate one. When I read some of those things, my mind went, what about this? It actually stirred up for me to be able to think of other things that I could do along those same lines. So the book will really get you thinking about what's the right way to do it and what's really the wrong way to do it. And the copywriting is actually sort of that's the key to it, I think.
Well, I really think the word code in the title is very telling. That there is a system, there is a strategy, there is a way to break this down so that you are much more successful. If you're going to put your energy into doing something and your dollars behind marketing it, then do that. I mean, I saw on Facebook the other day a post that said, I have a new listing, and then photos.
Yeah.
Well, where? Well, how much? Like, what's the call to action? What do I do now? Like, it's you same amount of energy to put it out there, but there's no chance of the capturing of the lead.
When you were growing up, Michael, did you play video games?
Yeah, a lot.
Do you remember Contra?
Yes.
What was the code? What was the code?
Left, right, A, B, A, B.
Exactly. So you remember the code to unlock all the goodies on Contra. Yep. And I believe that there is a code to unlock all the goodies on the internet, right? And it really, what I feel like there was a need in the market for was kind of an up, down, left, right, BA, start approach, as opposed to like Contra's a good game. You know?
Yeah.
And it's, you know what else is? I think it's like a technical Think and Grow Rich. Whoever's read Think and Grow Rich, you read Think and Grow Rich, and it's not in the words in the book. It's just, it makes you think, and there's just things in there that sort of just come out after you read it. And it's the same thing for me in here. There's a lot of technical, but there's a lot of in between that you can figure out.
Yeah, we may need to get you to sign a waiver that we can use that quote for the marketing. It's like a technical Think and Grow Rich. But yeah, I think the best books that I've enjoyed are the ones that are the most specific on here's your plan. But to your point, Dave, you know, I'm giving you the framework for a great ad. I'm giving you the framework for a great email, the framework for a great blog post, and so what you can create as an artist. But I think there's just too much art and not enough science in marketing and sales. I'm an artist. I love being creative. I've created more content than you guys, which is hard to say. But the reality is that you guys know this. Eventually, it's like, well, we're going to put on all this art. Let's do some fine-tuning to the science of it so that more people see it and read it and watch it and like it. So, yeah, I think it's important. One other quick tip for people that they don't know yet, Michael, is there's a really cool tool called DriftRock, which is something that it will sync your CRM to a custom audience on Facebook. So think of it this way. You've got this big magic million. You're dumping leads into your database. But a lot of people don't realize that once somebody's in your database, that is not when you should stop showing them ads. That is when you should show them the most ads. Agreed. And so what happens is most people's funnel ends when they hit the CRM, and then the follow-up is call, text, or email. What we do through DriftRock and Follow-Up Boss, there's sort of a sync together that works. Every lead that goes into our CRM then gets its own ad campaign through retargeting. So if you're already in the database, I don't need to capture your email anymore. I may now just see if you want to talk to sales. Click the call ad, something like that. So the retargeting of the existing database through social is a really untapped conversion opportunity.
I mean, we could go on. So the thing is, we're not even at conversion yet, Chris, and maybe, you know, that's where the book, you know, people are not looking at the book. We're already 40 minutes in. But Chris, how are we still? And I go to conference after conference, and I talk about dark posting opportunities, YouTube pre-roll ads, which kill for us. All these opportunities to what you say. Be specific. Break that chunk off, which is something a newspaper ad can't break a chunk off. A bus bench ad can't break a chunk off. Like, the ability to cut through all the noise, Chris, and segment these things out at scale, at cost. What is it just in our nature as any industry to go, seems like something I don't understand, so I won't dive into it? You know, if you don't understand this, you're going to have someone on your team. You're going to have to hire someone to do it. It just seems crazy in 2016 that we still put traditional marketing even where close to the ability to be. It's in the depth that there's value. You just said, if you write, are you thinking about buying a home, is different than are you thinking about buying a home in the next 60 days. It's in the depth that there's the value. Like, how do you can't convince people, Chris, or they'll just be left behind?
I'm probably the best person in the world at convincing people. And we've convinced 450 teams to join our company and pay us to help them with it, and they're growing their business 2x, 3x, 5x. And they were already top producers. So I feel like you feel like I don't think that the goal anymore is actually convincing people this stuff works. I think that the goal is two things. One, where's the blueprint for them? Because they're going to want that. I hope that this book can hopefully be a little bit of that. But two, guess what happens after the allure of Facebook, Twitter, and all these buzzwords wear off? When you peel up the hood, it's hard work as well. Yeah. That's the reason people aren't taking action. It isn't because it's different work or it's a new paradigm shift. It's that humans are largely lazy and they don't want to learn new skills. And so if you take the lazy people out of the equation and the people that are really like just bullish on not changing out of the equation, I don't know that anybody that's left is having any problems.
I agree with you, Chris. How many funnels should an agent have in driving leads? Mm-hmm. That's enough to make them immune to changes in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And how many funnels is too many to really convert seriously?
Great question. And if we define almost a funnel as like a landing page or a specific lead magnet, right? Like there is a lot of research, Michael, around the more landing pages you have, the more you get an ROI on your internet marketing. Now, I'm not convinced that it's because there's like 100 landing pages out there. I'm convinced that you're being purposeful. And when you need 100 landing pages, it's because you're doing stuff with them. And when you're purposefully using those landing pages, you're going to grow more. So I don't know that it's about the quantity. I think it's about the fact that it's a weapon in your arsenal that you use a lot. The actual answer is going to be, I hope, a lot lower than people are hoping. Every realtor in this country is insane if they don't have two funnels set up. A funnel for buyer leads and a funnel for seller leads. That is what you need to stay in business and to feed your family. Now, there are a lot more fun funnels after that. It's kind of like, think of it this way, Michael. If you've ever heard Buffini, he's great. This guy's good. I mean, he can perform on stage. And he talks about that you get into the business and you think you're going to be a millionaire and you're going to be a part of these $1 million clubs. The reality is that you end up calling expireds and FSBOs. But the reason you do that is so that you can get to this kind of moment where you work by referral. So it's no different.
Okay, and I agree, Chris. Where do you then, if you're saying buyer lead funnel and seller lead funnel, today, where's the best place to place those funnels? A website driven by blog, Facebook advertising? Where's the best place to put those?
And I make a strong argument for this, Dave. I'm not sure what your thoughts were, but landing pages are better than websites for capturing leads, period. The data will back that up. When you're capturing 13, 15, 25% of the traffic on a landing page and you're capturing 3 or 4 or 5 on a website, the best place to build the mousetrap is a landing page, and the best place to advertise the mousetrap is a Facebook ad. Now, I will say, you're saying, why aren't people taking action? Quit telling them to do dark posts. Dark posts is hard. Quit telling them to use Ad Manager. Teach them how to boost a post. And just use that, because they can do that. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the reason they're not executing Facebook ads, is it's hard for me to use Ads Manager and to do all the stuff right in there. But everybody on this planet knows how to update their status, and the
Ads Manager has gotten a lot easier in the last year. I mean, it was difficult.
Go tell that to the 62-year-old lady trying to use it after your session.
Yeah.
So I think boosted posts are going to be just a quicker path to having some wins, but there's also, of course, a formula to boosting a post the right way as well. But, you know, it's one of those things where it builds on itself. Landing pages for your listings do great. That's one of those things you mentioned earlier that no one else can provide. It's your listing. There is nowhere in the world where somebody can get more information about that home than you, besides maybe the seller. And honestly, the seller probably don't know more either if you really did your homework on the property. So I think that for us, you know, our clients' listings get the most leads, but then we also have what we call a Facebook farm set up. So instead of spending $500 or $1,000 a month on mail, our clients spend $500 or $1,000 on Facebook ads, and it is the equivalent of just sold, just listed. It's the same concept, hyper locally targeted by zip code. Now, in a perfect world, you have a bigger funnel, of course, with an email newsletter and podcast subscribers and YouTube, but you won't get to that if you don't do the basics, just like you won't get to referral real estate if you don't do the FSBO and expired.
Agreed.
I hope that makes sense.
It does. It does, Dave. I mean, we've talked many times. People ask me when I'm being interviewed, what would you do differently in 2016 if you were a new agent versus what you did in 1993 when I was a new agent? The reality is that I can't answer that question because none of the opportunities that existed in 2016 existed in 93. I'd approach my business completely different, and door knocking, cold calling, open houses was my options in 1993. Any new agent can go out there and be the mayor of their community on YouTube later on this week because your competition's not going to do it. So the ability now to bring relevant communication to these people, like you said, I would way rather target now, especially in Canada. I mean, you can target 800 homes in a certain neighborhood, farm the heck out of them with updates about what's going on versus, the amount of times, the scalability of door knocking, which I did day after day, on the same doors. I could only door knock one door at a time. The scalability now is like nothing we've seen before.
Yeah.
I understand the value or the opportunity to converting a lead or an interaction like, are you planning to buy a home in the next 60 days? One of the original things you said for people to do, and I know Jesse did it, how many provinces have you lived in? He just put out a poll. What's the value? What's the purpose of a post like that other than just starting a conversation? What is the intent behind a post like that?
Yeah, I think sometimes people overthink that. For me, I was having a conversation with a couple people at dinner about how many states we had lived in, and the answer surprised me. And so that question to my Facebook community sort of was an extension of the sort of moment that I had at dinner that night, and it was genuinely interesting for me to read the answers. I'll say that again. I was genuinely interested to read the people's answers. That's the difference. And I think that when your questions that are built for social come from a place of goodness, come from a place of genuine curiosity, it's not gaming it, it's not trying to raise your clout score. But the bottom line is that when I have something to sell, I want people to see it. And the best way to do that in Facebook is not to try to sell it every day on my profile, at least, right? So I've got ads running on the page like I'm supposed to, and those ads help me get leads for my business. On my profile, it's just different. So, I'm not saying that you should say Coke versus Diet Coke. I'm saying there is a reason those type of updates do better, and that if you've been asking these deep philosophical questions about life, I don't got time for that shit at Starbucks when I'm scrolling through my news feed.
Yeah.
And, here's another little thing I learned in the book, and there's a little story behind it that take like 2 seconds. If you guys have watched my Facebook page, I put up a new logo, right? You see the new logo we did? We've been working on a logo forever, but I didn't think it wasn't really prioritized. We'll get to that. So one of the things I read in the book was go to the message thing on a and see who's active, and just sort of start some conversations maybe with people that you haven't talked to in a long time. So I looked over, and there's this guy, Dan Yeager, he's a Facebook friend. He did some work for us 10 years ago. Hey, you know what? Let me click on Dan. Hey, Dan, how you doing? How's the family? How's things going? Blah, blah, blah. We start a little conversation, and the light goes off. This is the guy that did our original logo. Hey, Dan, if I send you a couple of files, you think you could complete this project for me? Sure. Blah, 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 back and forth. 2 days later, we got the logo that we wanted all along. And it all happened because I went into Facebook and just kind of took some of the little tips and had an engagement with somebody that I probably never would have done. And the end result was really kind of cool. And connected back with somebody who is a valuable resource because he's right here in our market as well. So when I referred him to some people, and it just worked.
Conversations create customers.
Totally agree.
And that is the point of the 3-3 technique, which is what he's explaining. In the book, I call it the 3-3 technique. And I give you just a little message that if you paste into a chat with someone that you know, there's like a 99% chance they're going to respond. And I leave it open-ended enough where it's like, hey, I'm working on this project for work, and I was wondering if you could answer a couple questions for me. And like that is such an easy lead-in to just getting on the phone. So the techniques I teach are all meant to create conversations with people that may or may not buy. Hopefully they want to buy. But great example, Dave, of just executing. And one thing I would challenge people to do is think about Facebook as your alternate CRM. When we go into our CRM, we don't always do mass updates. We often go into the individual profiles and do a little pruning. And on Facebook, for whatever reason, it feels like we just always do a mass update. And we don't go into the little individual mechanisms like messaging, chat, writing on walls. So I'm a big fan of, having that megaphone, but then just tapping on people's individual shoulders each and every day, which leads to discussions, which leads to business. So good story. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, and for another note, how old is Dad?
I'm sorry, how old is he?
Yeah.
I think he's probably closer to your age than mine.
Okay.
He's your age.
I guess my point being is technology isn't, it's all around us. You can tell instantly. A great tip that I got from Chris about this book. He was doing a Periscope on it. And it's the book about the ability to use on iPhone to send text messages if you only have the email address. We are conditioned as a society. All my clients, my 25-year-old clients, my 60-year-old clients, if there's a place that I know I'll get a response from, it's through a text message. So your ability then to take an email address and to convert that into a different conversation, this is all around us. Between Messenger, I do a ton of business on Facebook Messenger in all demographics. In all
contract last night, sitting on the couch, Vanessa and I, and the details, we were texting with a 68-year-old guy, back and forth, boom, 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 got it done, go to the email, sign the dot loop, boom, boom, we were done.
Well, I don't know about your page, Michael, but on my page and on Curator's page, 80% of the messages we get are deals. I mean, they're just people that want to do something. Like, I get pumped when I got a message on my page because it's either a speaking request or somebody that wants to get a demo. I find those to be huge. And here's something that's kind of breaking news, actually, that no one's ever done, but they're about to be able to. This is a game changer. Facebook is actually creating a new ad unit so that you can use Facebook ads inside of Messenger. So imagine.
So you're saying you can have a past client list on Messenger and go straight out.
I'm saying you could send a message to all of your fans that goes into their Messenger box if you pay.
Wow.
And before they had that feature, they yanked it. Remember, you used to be able to message your fans?
Yeah.
And it would go into the other folder?
Yeah, they had to message you first before you could message them.
Yeah. Well, imagine if you could pay to send a segment of your fans, or what about people that aren't a fan yet, right? They're going to basically come up with an email ad unit, which I think is going to be a big game changer if it's used, of course, the right way. So imagine they're already a fan of your page, and then they get a message about a listing or about a CMA marathon you're doing to help people get their value this week, like whatever that may be. So the other ad unit in Facebook that's awesome is called lead ads, which is very appropriately named, and it's a little trickier to set up, but this is something I see as a big trend as well, which is capturing without leaving. If you've ever seen a lead ad, you literally hit a button and hit submit and you're done. It doesn't open up a landing page. The landing page doesn't have to load. You don't have to click on the landing page, type in your email, and hit submit. It is a one capture, and we are getting the cheapest cost per lead we've ever gotten through that ad unit. So Facebook lead ads are a really exciting idea. Imagine getting a Facebook lead ad and then paying an extra 50 cents to immediately message them through Messenger.
Yeah. Yeah, Facebook just announced for your video ads subtitles. That's huge in this stop scrolling, no sound on your video roll. I mean, that stuff there's just no end to this stuff. Chris, we're already at an hour.
Yeah.
it's been, we could talk about this stuff for forever. Now, in full disclosure, our team is full on in back end and curator, doing our due diligence there. Blown away by what you guys do. Blown away. Not only with the product, but how we've been dealt with by your team.
Thank you.
One of the questions asked, curator client or not curator client, when we talk about all this stuff, these leads coming in and putting systems in place, what is Chris Smith's one recommendation or a couple recommendations on CRMs? It's a conversation that goes on and on and on and on, and it seems like there's no real right answer. It's like, what email client should I use on my iPhone? CRMs, what systems do you recommend we put in place to sort of execute against all the takeaways that are in the book?
Absolutely. I think it's really, most people need 2 systems. Okay? Well, technically they would need 3, because they would want a really good landing page tool. If they don't have that, they would want a great CRM, and they would want a great email marketing tool, because just mass email is just different than drip email. You need a different company like a MailChimp. So the CRMs that I recommend are Contactually, RealVolve, Top Producer, Wise Agent, Follow Up Boss. I mean, there's more, but like the reason I like those 5 is there's something for everybody. If you're a big lead gen team like we do tons of lead gen, our clients are generating hundreds of leads a month, Follow Up Boss is the best option for them. But if you're more of a Dave kind of a customer, where you're working your sphere more, you're working maybe 300 or 400 people constantly versus 3,000 or 4,000 people, RealVolve and Contactually, I think, are some of the best options out there. I think that Contactually can be better than Follow Up Boss in certain scenarios. But then you may be that person that wants your CRM to do everything. You want it to not be just your CRM. You want it to do your CMAs and your labels and your envelopes and your some of your old school stuff. But you want it.
What's an envelope? Sorry.
Well, listen, a lot of the Top Producer customers, that's all they use it for, is to print labels, because they just have it in there and it's easy to do. So Top Producer is really probably the best one for somebody that wants every possible feature they could have. And then Wise Agent, great CRM, built by an agent named Brandon Wise. If you are somebody that wants a lot of help and support, like, Wise Agent is a great community. I mean, they'll answer the phone at 3 a.m. and help you through your uploading of your CSV. So I think that there's sort of the reason there's not an industry-leading CRM is because there's not one type of real estate customer. The big teams should be using the follow-up bosses, curators, boomtowns of the world. The solo agents, I think the RealVolves, Contactuallys are great. The people that want every freaking possible feature and they got a bunch of admins and a bunch of buyer's agents, Top Producer can be a perfect option for them. So those are the best. And then when it comes to email marketing, there's really a bunch of systems that make the most sense. But we use Happy Grasshopper. Happy Grasshopper for us is not the same as for if you go buy it, so I do need to say that. We use it as a way so that every lead from every source that goes into our CRM syncs over to the email tool with the tags. So that way, if you do a lead campaign, Michael, for a listing, and all the leads come into Follow Up Boss, we can tag it that they were from that listing. So then if you wanted to do a just sold email through Happy Grasshopper, and you wanted to only hit the people that were leads from the listing that sold, that becomes very simple to do. So like real-time segmenting, real-time syncing, real-time tagging so that you can send those micro messages, all that stuff is really easy to do with our system, and we're powered by a couple other back ends. But MailChimp is probably the best email marketing tool in the world. If you really want to get into advanced email marketing, Aweber is the best email marketing tool, in my opinion. And then if you want to do a lot of video email like you do, our friends at BombBomb do great stuff. And all of these companies have drips, which they call campaigns, and then they have blasts, which are sort of the big message. So really, yes, the conversion code can be complex to crack, but it's really website and blog, landing pages, Facebook ads, CRM, and email. And that's not everything. I mean, God, we used to do 20 more things for our customers when we started, but it was all bullshit, and none of it got their business to grow. So to me, that is sort of the product stack of the future, and you can exchange them along the way, of course, different landing page, different website company, different CRM, but they all sort of need to be there to crack the conversion code.
And now, are you generating your landing pages as a segment of your website provider, or are you doing a separate what you would recommend? I know Curator obviously does something different.
Sure. Yeah, that's something we sort of pioneered, which is hard to do, which is, can your website be your landing pages too? It's very hard to say yes to that. So 99% of the people listening are going to want to use Insta pages or lead pages or Unbounce. Those are the three I recommend in the book. Unbounce gives you the most freedom. Lead pages gives you the most training wheels. Insta pages gives you the quickest ability to publish and get leads. It literally Insta pages. So most people listening are going to need a new tool for that. Now, I will say there's a great technology called BuzzSumo. And if you already have a website and you want to do things like build landing pages into your site, build pop-ups into your site, BuzzSumo you can add to your existing site, and it'll make it convert way better. But for most people that really want to get into the conversion code, they're going to want a standalone landing page tool, and they're just going to want to make sure that when they get the leads from that tool, it puts the leads into their CRM so all the automation can kick in.
Yeah, we've been generating our landing pages and being super successful because we do a lot of video. Our landing pages are built for BombBomb, and then we just purchase URLs against those URLs that they provide, and it's just been an easy way, a tool that we already have. So we'll have to look into those elements too. But I think BombBomb, as far as a landing page goes, has been phenomenal, because that's where the drip campaign is going to be anyway, and so you can automate those drip campaigns. I know that there's people that have signed up on the forum on Mobile Agent TV during the show that have now opened up in my newsletter that has a video saying thanks for signing up. I haven't done a thing, and so there's a lot of that automation.
Well, and let me give one last tip, and I know the show's wrapping up, but one of the things that we've also found to be really useful is people want things instantly. And a lot of the landing pages and a lot of the CRMs, what they do is when you get a lead, it'll email the person the deliverable. And we live in a world that's too fast for that. So what we suggest is that as soon as the person says view or submit, the content's instantly available. Now, we do that in Curator dynamically, but if you're using lead pages or something else, that's actually called a URL redirect. So when I capture the lead, send them to this piece of content. That way, if you have Insta pages and you're trying to get a lead for a listing, but when they hit submit, you want them to get the listing details immediately, you can redirect them to your site. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Now, can I ask you this question, though? One of the reasons why we really like having it emailed to them is that in the advertising we've done, it states we're going to email you the content, and therefore we don't get mickeymouse@yahoo.com. How do you then have that verified website that you're actually dealing someone? Because I find that it might be a little longer, but the quality of lead is they can't get the deliverable without having a real web email address. How do you factor that into the conversion?
Yeah, there's certainly, lead pages and Insta pages and Curator. One of the things as software companies that we work hard on is called email verification. Okay. And so what that does is it actually tests in real time as they hit submit if it's an accurate email. And if it's not a real email address, it will just tell them that they need a real one if they want what we have behind the form. So there's something called email verification. Again, lead pages, Unbounce, they're gonna be able to do that for you in real time. But yeah, and here's the thing, Michael. Here's why I argue that letting them unlock it when they give accurate info is the best way to go. Because if your first email delivers the content, it's a little weird to then have an ask, because the whole purpose of the email is to deliver it. If they get the content as soon as they're a lead, the first email can become a conversation starter. What'd you think about the content? Not here it is. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Okay, and the first email always has the biggest open rate. So I want to really take advantage of that. So anyway, there's more than one way to skin a cat, but I'm really bullish on this idea that if somebody wants to watch an 8-minute demo video and they're at Starbucks and they fill out the form, I want that thing to start playing as soon as they're done. I don't want to have to rely on an email that might get a 60% open rate and go to spam.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, Chris, amazing stuff. An hour 6 into it. Now, you're going to be at R4 here in 7 days. You're going to be in the Homes.com booth signing and selling your book.
Yes.
So for all your Remaxers out there going to R4, pop in and see Chris. If viewers aren't going to R4 or they're not Remax agents, how do people get the book? Amazon, theconversioncode.com. How do people get the book, and when is it being shipped out?
Sure, thanks for asking. So theconversioncode.com is the hub. That's got the link to Amazon, but we're also doing some really fun stuff with pre-orders. So this thing's on fire, Michael. I've already pre-sold over 10,000 copies, which is really crazy, and there's still 3 weeks to go and hundreds of orders coming in every day. So I'm looking to be at about 15,000 pre-sales, which is a pretty strong opening week. Wiley, my publisher, is an awesome company, so I've got my eye on some of the big bestseller lists, and if people want to help me accomplish that goal, by pre-ordering through theconversioncode.com, you're going to get a ton of really cool bonuses. So as an example, if you buy 1 copy of the new book, you get a free copy of my old book. If you buy 3 copies of the new book, you actually get the script for buyer leads and seller leads featured in the book. If you buy 5, you get the keynote. So anyway, I wanted to incentivize people that even bought 1 copy. You can also buy 1,000 copies and fly me to your market for 2 days. So there's some premium options too. But if people go to theconversioncode.com, click on buy the book, it'll show them all the pre-order options. And then once the book comes out on March 7th, that's when everything will sort of go through Amazon. The book will be in stores all over the country at Barnes & Noble. So I'm really excited. Thanks for having me on and letting me plug it here.
Awesome, Chris. I mean, I really think the issue, like we said, and I said in the preview for the show, is generating leads is one thing. I think what agents really need to get good at is converting the leads that are in front of them. In all different manners. I just think it's a lost art or something that's moving too quick for us to get perfected at.
It's a new art, Michael. It's a new art.
New art.
It's a new skill because Zig Ziglar didn't need to teach people this, and Brian Tracy didn't need to teach people this because there didn't used to be a thing called the internet.
Yeah.
There wasn't a thing I don't know. This is fascinating to me. Landing pages, which we talked a lot about today. Those were invented in 2002 by Microsoft, by the way, who was having trouble selling Windows. So they needed to put all the focus on Windows, and they sold more copies, right? That's the whole purpose of a landing page. So the tools and techniques in the book were born in the last decade, and it's the only decade that they could have been born in. I'm bullish on that. I think it's a new paradigm shift towards internet lead generation, inside sales, and that requires a new script, a new approach, and hopefully a new coach. That's my goal.
No, and you know what? And too, Chris, I think one of the values you have is, we do a lot of Facebook dark posts, and we do a lot of stuff you're talking about, but our sample size is nowhere close to the sample size you've been able to see to figure out the code. I mean, there's too many variables in a small team doing it to figure out exactly what it is. The advantage of you in this book, Chris, is that there's such a large sample size over, shockingly enough, a large period of time, because 2 years on internet leads or 5 years on internet leads is a long period of time. That the value that you could provide is going to cut all that A/B testing out for the average agent who's doing it themselves. So money well spent to get them further ahead. I mean, a lot of people reading this book, I imagine, are going to be years ahead of where they would be if they were going to rely on their own data to figure out what's going and what's not going. To Dave's point, you kind of just did it, and now you're going in with a strategy, with a code. A purposeful intention is so important, and I think there is a code online. I know for our Facebook posts, starting with a question, ending with a statement is never as effective as starting with a statement, ending with a question. It took us months to figure that out, maybe a year to figure that out, and it's changed the way that we've marketed. So this stuff will sort of cut down the learning curve, like you say, on an absolutely new a new opportunity. And it's exciting.
With that said, Michael, I believe over the past 10 years, all the change we've seen is only 5 or 10% of what we're going to see in the next 10 years. And I truly believe that. It's moving at the speed of light. And this book is actually sort of the start of it. And then if you don't get on board with this kind of stuff now, you're just going to be so far behind because it's going to change. Chris is going to have to write a new book in a couple more years because this stuff, in my opinion, will probably be antiquated. There'll be something new. It's happening so fast. So just, if you're going to stay around, you got to get going with this stuff.
Chris, thank you so much, man. How do people connect with you on Twitter, on Facebook? We've already given out the conversioncode.com. Curator, the water cooler is amazing. I'll put in my plug. Please bring back Pillow Talk. I miss it. Just let people know how they find you.
Yeah, Facebook.com/curator Chris. Chris@curator.com if anybody just wants to email me directly. But on the conversioncode.com, there's my Facebook, my Twitter, all those other social channels. But yeah, Dave, I'm gonna end with Dave. I'm gonna ask you for another 5-star review. We did this last time with People Work. I'll make it a tradition because I genuinely could feel how much you love the book, and you have one of the only advanced copies. So I'm looking forward to reading your 5-star Amazon review next week.
I know what Dave will do this. For those of people that join us during the show, Dave posted this on Facebook. I post here because there are more gems in this book than anything I have ever read.
Oh,
so there
awesome.
you go.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks, Mike, for having me on. And I'm going to hop on Twitter to say hello to everybody that was watching live.
Awesome, Chris. I will see you in Vegas here in 8 days. I'll come by thehomes.com and get my signed copy from you. Really appreciate you coming on. Appreciate all the content you delivered to our community. The real estate industry is phenomenal. You're a good guy. I appreciate it. Dave, thank you so much. If you have any referrals going out to the west or east coast of the United States, get a hold of Dave. He'll put you in the hands of the right RE/MAX agent. Any referrals coming up to the west coast of Canada, get a hold of me, and I'll put you in the hands of the right RE/MAX agent. Oh, R4, March 1st, a marketplace. We're going to have an amazing probably 2 amazing guests, and a great panel come down and see us. And as Melanie Galley of RE/MAX Fort McMurray wants us to end every show, tell 5 other agents about Mobile Agent TV. We grow every week, allows us to do 101 shows, allows us to have amazing guests like Chris Smith. We really, really appreciate your time, Chris. Thanks, Dave. We appreciate it. We will be back with Dave here after R4 for new episodes. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you from R4.